All right, your teen is not going to be running around Disney World in a princess costume, but that different season brings different magic, but it's still magical.
Yeah, so traveling with teens to Disney World is going to mean planning a little bit differently. And today we want to talk about how you can put the magic into your Walt Disney trip with teens. So in planning ahead, we're going to be thinking a little bit differently about a few things, and it's going to start with our resort stay. What are we looking for in a resort for teenagers to make that place an experience that kind of fills them with joy and gives them some magic? So Lise, what are some considerations there?
Yeah, so it really does come down to different considerations. When you had littles, you might have been thinking of proximity or theme. With teenagers, you're really going to want to be thinking about the size of your room and the amenities of your resort. So I would say those value resorts, while they're nice for your budget, are really squishy when you're trying to fit four grown human beings in them. And so really kind of take that into consideration. I would suggest with teenagers, you want to go a moderate and up. But then ask your kids, what do they want out of a resort? If they really just want to go somewhere to sleep and maybe suntan, so they don't need a water slide, they don't need a hot tub, sure, go ahead and consider that value resort. It's gonna be nicer on your budget. But if they do want some of those amenities of your resort, like being able to hop on the Skyliner and get to a park quickly, or they love to go down a water slide, have some of those added amenities, like additional restaurants or additional activities that are offered at some of those higher tier resorts, then you're gonna want to take that into consideration too. Also, think through that when you're booking your room. You don't have little legs, and so maybe you don't need to splurge on the preferred room location. You could probably go with a standard room location at a better resort and kind of minimize the budget difference there.
So some of these resorts also have a fifth sleeper, and so this is the ability to have your kids have their own bed. So this is obviously all up to how you guys roll on vacation. If you guys are just all about the parks and you're just looking for a pillow and a bed to sleep and that's it, I would just keep it super chill, keep it budget. But if you're looking to experience a little more downtime at the resorts, have a little more room to yourself, have a little less fighting amongst your teen siblings, consider maybe a fifth sleeper. So you can look those up. Many of the resorts have fifth sleeper options, and we would highly recommend that if your kids just need their own space.
Yeah. Now there are some great things to make your resort stay just a little bit easier. One of those being the refillable mug. It is easier, it's cheaper for you in the long run than buying multiple sodas. And they do have those Coke Freestyle machines kind of tucked all around your moderate and deluxe resorts, obviously in your main food area, in your value resorts. And that just allows your teen to really just unlimited beverages. They're gonna be so happy, especially if you have a down day. Now, again, if you are going to spend all of your time in the parks, it is not an refillable mug in the parks, it is just at your resort. So maybe it's not worth it for you if you're not going to be spending any time there.
Yeah, so in those you can get soda, you can get water, you can get coffee, you can get tea, and so it's a good value over the period of your stay.
And then because you have teenagers, really think through the fact that it is their vacation too. They are likely going to want to sleep in. So plan either a late start day or a down day to allow them to have some of that sleep in time. Now, fun fact, we always kind of push that you start with rope drop. You're gonna get so much done at the beginning of your day when there are less people who wanna wake up early to go. But if you stay after the fireworks, a lot of the families exit. And so you can get less done than with rope drop, but you can still get a considerable amount completed. And so maybe that is more of your teens thing, is to stay up really late rather than starting early. Go with your family.
Now, obviously we don't go to Disney World to stay in a resort necessarily. We're there for the parks. One of the things we would say, even before you leave your home in the pre-planning, if your kids want to be involved in that pre-planning, have them involved. What parks do you want to go to? If you're staying multiple days and you can do repeats of parks, what parks do you want to repeat? in those parks, what are the priority rides that you want to get on? And that's going to kind of play into our Genie Plus and booking lightning lanes, etc. But make them a part of the journey. That way, there's a little more buy-in each day that you go to those parks.
Yeah, and don't assume that they want to go on or skip something. Like we've said before, our kids actually really enjoyed the many adventures of Winnie the Pooh, but they grew up going to the Disney parks. Also, don't assume that they want to skip characters. They might really want to go and see Mickey and then really don't care about the rest. If you involve them in the itinerary, you're gonna make sure that they get all of those things that are on their bucket list to do. Now, we recommend for little kids that you kind of work up your way on roller coasters. If you are a family that hasn't had access to an amusement park, whether it's Disney or something else, don't just assume that your kids are gonna automatically want to go on Everest, Rock and Roller Coaster, or Tower of Terror. You might want to work your way, starting with like Slinky Dog or Big Thunder or Space, and then if they're enjoying those, then for sure, go on those other like kind of bigger rides.
Or you pretend like they're not a big deal. And then once they're strapped in, you say,
this is going upside down.
This is gonna kill you.
We have different parenting philosophies, as you can see. Yeah, so, you know what, just involve them. There's so many POV ride videos on YouTube, so nothing should really be taking them off guard anyway, if they have YouTube, which obviously you do. Now, you had mentioned Genie Plus and the individual lightning lanes, and we think that that is a great tool for families. It's something to budget in because it is kind of every month, it just seems like the cost of that is rising.
I'm not gonna lie, I hate that you have to pay for it. It just bugs me so much. But because we don't get to the parks very often, we just simply budget ahead of time, save up, knowing that we're just going to optimize our time there.
Yeah.
We're just gonna bite the bullet and do it. But I do it so begrudgingly because it drives me nuts.
That's fair. And FastPass Plus was free. It was completely included in your park ticket not very long ago. And so it does stink that you have to pay for it. But with Genie Plus, it will allow you to get on every ride once. So you book that and you book one ride at a time. Either when 2 hours is up, you book the next one, or when you get on past the checkpoint, you can book the next one. And so if you are on top of it, you can really keep your day flowing. Then that individual lightning lane is a different cost than Genie Plus, but those are gonna be your headliner attractions in each park. So think Rise of the Resistance, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, rides that your teens very likely are going to want to ride. Yeah. And so if you were going to stand in the standby queue for those rides, it's gonna eat so much of your day. So you kind of have to think, am I prioritizing time as money and that mindset, or like, we're just gonna stick it out? And again, if you go during parade times, you go during firework times, or you're some of the first to get out of the fireworks crowd at the end of the night, you can watch those wait times come down. So maybe the end of the night is a good time with teens that don't mind staying up late to go on them.
Yeah, so this all depends on your teen and their level of patience and your level of patience and kind of what kind of trip you want to have. But we do recommend just spending the extra money because you're just gonna optimize your time in those parks. If you're not a local and you travel there once a year or once every other year, I highly recommend just making the investment.
Now, there's so many great things to do at the parks that are not rides. You can kind of have fun with the fact that our teens are on social media. They want to, have their pictures taken. They want to experience those limited time things. And so be watching the Disney Park social media. They kind of have all of the limited time offerings, but they also have really great photo walls all over the place. You can find the Moss Wall in Animal Kingdom or the Purple Wall in Magic Kingdom, and they're kind of great little photo stops too.
So can you just, excuse my ignorance, but can you just give me an example of a limited time kind of thing that would be in a park?
Yeah,
just
so
we have
like right now for Valentine's Day, they have a bunch of Valentine's Day snacks that are all like pink and roses and flowery. as well as the PhotoPass photographers have different magical moments they can make with that.
Okay, we don't often do a video on either kids or teens without talking about picky eaters, because nothing like a picky eater to kind of mess up the vibe of the day. And so if you do have a picky eater among you, you can get and you can order kids menu options from the quick service restaurants. And so if you do have a picky eater and you don't want them to starve all day, that is an option just to kind of keep things going, keep their blood sugar up, keep them in a good mood. And yeah.
Absolutely, and they're smaller portions, so maybe you want to go with the kids menu size with the kids menu price too. Now, that kind of brings us to going outside of the park to Disney Springs or to the resorts, and that is try a fun meal. Go for a fancy meal. Head on out to that restaurant you've always wanted to try, and just for fun, try a mocktail. Give your kid a mocktail. They're gonna just feel so grown up.
And of course, Lisa mentioned it, don't miss out on Disney Springs. Disney Springs is a great environment. It's an awesome place to do some shopping. There's entertainment, there's almost always entertainment, especially in the evenings at the band shelter there, which is always so good. And your teens will love it, especially that nightlife, kind of the lights and the sounds and the music. It's just a great environment.
So fun.
And of course, in the wintertime, you get a little snow from time to time. So depending on what season you're going in, there's a little added magic there too.
And all of those limited time offerings from the parks are mirrored in Disney Springs. So it's this one big, beautiful, cohesive experience of fun and unique. Now, with that, we wanted to share some of our favorite tips for going with our teens. And so the first one kind of linked to that shopping in Disney Springs is we get our teens gift cards that we preload with the amount that we are willing to chip in for their souvenirs and extras. They have jobs, they can spend their own money on the extra things, but I don't want to be buying 5 Starbucks lattes every day for my teens. So they can get their own. When their gift card is out, it's out.
And make sure all of your teens and everyone in your party downloads the My Disney Experience app. This is gonna help with, Mom, what's that line like? How long is the line at Avatar? They can just check for themselves. All the maps are there, wait times are there. And so they can be a little more self-sufficient and not having to ask a million questions along the way.
Yes, you don't need to hold the mental load, Mom and Dad. You can pass it along to them to look up for it themselves. But those phones and those apps are great. And not only are they gonna help with navigation and kind of working through the day, but they can be incredible for your lines.
Yes.
We're gonna have a whole video on this coming up, but apps like Heads Up or Ticket to Ride or some of those pass and play things will really help just when you do wait for those big, like Space Mountain or whatever, those big wait time rides, then
and this is a great time just to ask you, would you consider subscribing, liking this video? Those videos are going to be coming up, so we're looking forward to sharing some of our tips and tricks around just killing some time in a meaningful way with your family in those lineups for all ages.
Yeah, and we don't want you to miss out, so make sure that you hit that subscribe button so you get notified. The next thing that you kind of have to think about, and this is maybe more for us from Canada, not really for you that are locals in the United States, is will you be paying for your teen to have cell service? Because you might want to give them some autonomy, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. But if they don't have cell service, you are going to want to make sure that they have an app like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger, something that you can connect with each other over Wi-Fi and make sure that you can stay in touch that way.
Now we will say the Wi-Fi in the parks,
It's hit or miss.
I don't know if they've upgraded, but man, it's very hit or miss.
Yeah, and it just saves you from, you set that one location to meet at, and then you're on either sides of the fountain or something silly like that. If you can text each other, then it's gonna be better.
Now, of course, the teenage years, that's quite a span. We're going all the way from like 13 to 18, 19. So decide ahead of time how much autonomy you want to give your teens, depending on the season of life that they're in, their maturity levels, their knowledge of the parks, their ability to keep track of time, and meetups, etc.
Yeah, well, we would love to know, do you have any tips from your own travels with teens, or maybe watching someone travel with teens that we didn't cover? Let's just kind of crowd share that information so that your next vacation with your teens to Walt Disney World can be magical.
So guys, we're Maple Mickey, putting the magic back into your Disney vacation. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.